photos and they're passionate about it. And they take photos of the landscape and the way.
Okay, we're ready.
All right, we're good. All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Sunnyside City Council regular meeting for today, Monday, May 12, 2025. For the record, all members of council are present with the exception of Councilor Hart. Council, has anybody heard from Councilor Hart? Nah, there she is. Councilor Hart is here. All right. Councilor Hart has arrived, and all other members of staff are here as well, with the exception of the city manager. Council, the city manager called me this afternoon and said that he is feeling quite ill and was going to the doctor and asked to be excused from tonight's meeting. If there's no objection, we'll excuse him from the meeting tonight.
No objection.
Very good. He's excused. Oh, there's something going around. I think Deputy Mayor, you said your family is experiencing something very similar. And
Yep.
so far you've managed to dodge it. I'm happy about that. All right, agenda approval. With the manager missing this evening, council, we are going to need to remove part of the executive agenda, the one that deals with presenting him with his evaluation. We'll have to bring that up again in a later meeting. So that is going to have to be removed. There's no point in presenting an evaluation if the evaluee is not present. So, but the rest of the executive session will go forward. So we do have a reason for executive session still. Is there any other items council members would like to either remove or feel the need to add to tonight's agenda? Hearing none. What is the desire of council on this, on the agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, got a motion by Deputy Mayor, second by Councilor Hart to approve the agenda. Is there debate on this item? Hearing none. Going up the list again as usual. Councilor Hancock.
Yes.
Councilor Ripley.
Yes.
Councilor Frausto. Councilor Vasquez.
Yes.
Councilor Hart.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor.
Yes.
I too vote yes. Motion passes. Next item is invocation. I'd ask you please rise for the invocation. Pastor Jeff, come on forward. And after the invocation, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening, staff, mayor, council. My name is Jeff Pagel. I'm the pastor at Sunnyside First Baptist Church. My pleasure to be here tonight to lead invocation. Let's pray. God, we thank you for the opportunity to gather. We thank you that you are here with us. We ask that you be near as we make decisions, weighty decisions for our community, for the people of our community. Lord God, I ask you to be with every person on the podium, with our fire chief, with our firefighters, with our police chief, with our police officers. Keep them safe, keep them healthy, keep them ready for work. God, we ask that you be with us tonight. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. And could somebody bring me the list for public comment, please? Thank you. Oh, it's a long list. All right, public comment. Citizens are advised that they must limit their remarks to council to 3 minutes, and council may refer items to staff to review and or research for presentation at a later date. And I have one name on my list for public comment, and we're going to let you go first and perhaps last. Maricela.
Hello, my name is Maricela Santana Valle, the Environmental Justice Coordinator for EYA, as well as a Sunnyside resident. I'm here today to make a public records request on the unauthorized dumping in the city collection system on Memorial Day weekend 2022, quoted from Estella Washington Department of Ecology Central Regional Office Water Compliance Inspection Report on June 8, 2022. In this report, it states that ecology was able to determine that the source of the wastewater was from Ostrom's Mushroom Farms, known today as Windmill Farms, via a city sewer collection manhole at the facility near the lagoon. The lagoon was over capacity, and instead of having the excess trucked to a natural selections farm, Ostrom's, now known as Windmill, pumped it into the sewer manhole. The city of Sunnyside contacted ecology and Ostrom's, now known as Windmill, to notify them of the dumping. Ecology made an unscheduled inspection on June 8, 2022. Ecology met with Stephen Seibert, the facility operation manager, and Travis Wood, the CEO, to discuss the illicit dumping and the need for a state waste management permit discharge because of the single line process wastewater lagoon facility. So I would like to request public records around this incident from the city of Sunnyside, from the unauthorized dumping in the city collection system, which happened on Memorial Weekend 2022, and any supporting documents around that. So the purpose of this public records request is to understand how the windmill application for a state waste discharge permit to discharge industrial wastewater to a publicly owned treatment plant would impact the city of Sunnyside's water systems. This includes whether the water in Windmill's lagoon is safe enough from harmful substances that can impact the water systems. Now until May 24th, public comment is open around the state water discharge permit for Windmill. And if no significant comment is made, a temporary permit will be given. And some of this information was given from the Sunnyside Sun, an article written by Ileana Martinez, which reports that the Name Mushroom facility has applied for a waste discharge permit, and public comment period is now open. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I believe the person to take a public records request would be our clerk, and she will be able to help you and direct you in the right direction for all of that good information. So, all right.
Mayor, just can I ask, do we have a written copy of that so that the clerk?
Are you able to turn that into the clerk? Okay, if you give that to Ms. Koski, that would be fantastic. All right. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of the following: the minutes of the March 24, 2025 regular meeting, claim vouchers, approved check register, including check numbers 111602 through 11680, as listed, for a total of $412,774.69 for the period ending on 5/2/2025. Council, any items, questions on the consent agenda?
Yes, I have questions on
Councilor
the claim
Hancock.
vouchers, please.
Councilor Hancock, floor is
I
yours.
would like to pull all claim vouchers,
All claim vouchers.
all claim vouchers. And that's to include the check register for the payroll.
Okay. That's going to be hard for us to discuss the entire claim voucher or the check register.
Well, it might, but I have a reason for it, and so I would like to pull it. I don't plan on discussing each and every item.
Be
Okay.
concerned for a moment.
Yeah, no.
All Does any other council member have a specific item of the consent agenda that they wish to bring up? All right, Councilor Hart.
I just have a question as to why we're pulling all of the claim vouchers.
Well, let's let Councilor Hancock have her moment, and we'll see where that goes. Councilor Hancock, you have the floor.
Okay. First of all, we'll start with the employee claim vouchers for the pay. We have never done this in the past. I don't think this has come before full council that this is how we want to do it. I researched this, and pretty much every municipality in the state does name names, not addresses, not social security numbers, but they do name names. And I think there's a reason for that. And I don't think that we should be keeping from our public who's working for the city of Sunnyside and what they're making. It's not, I don't think it's been a problem in the past, and I don't see it a problem in the future, as we have gone through some really difficult times in the last few months. I think that we need just to keep things on an even keel here to where we're comfortable with what's going on in these claim vouchers and what's happening. There's been questions about, pay scales and all that kind of stuff. And I think we need, as council, to have the ability and the public to see what's going on. And I do not want to keep the public. I don't want it just to be council and not the public to know. We've done it that way for all our time with the city of Sunnyside. And I looked at different municipalities that did, I mean, most of them, you know, you look at school teachers, you look at anything else, you can find what people make. And I think they should be. They're in classifications. Other communities look to us. They look at our pay scales and they do comparisons, and that's how they negotiate with their unions. So I think this is a drastic change, and I don't think that until we discuss it longer as a group, not just as the finance committee or whatever, I think it's really important that we know what we're doing before we change it. And I don't like that it's changed tonight without full council approval.
All right, thank you, Counselor. I guess if you ask for clarification, because I'm not quite sure I understand the question, because I'm looking at the check register and it's got all the employees listed on it for the pay period.
But it's
indicated.
not for the public.
It is, Counselor, please.
It is if they request it, but right now the public can look at our agendas and our packets and see it themselves.
It is in the agenda packet, Counselor.
I have a question.
It's not in the packet?
It is not in the agenda packet.
Could we ask Kelly to clarify this, please?
Yes, can we do that? Yeah, Ms. Kelsey, please.
So in meeting with the finance subcommittee, we asked about making some changes to the reports that are being given to the council. One of those happened to be the payroll register, and it happened to be that the finance subcommittee met after the deadline for this particular agenda. If it is the will of the full council that we include that in the agenda packet, we can certainly do that in the future. But we just had the meeting with the subcommittee after the deadline to get the packet for the agenda published.
But the subcommittee does not get to choose for all of council. And I don't think they thought they were, and I don't think that's their intent.
Counselor Hancock, just for your info, I just pulled it up on the agenda.
That's the vouchers.
Pulled it.
It doesn't have
It's
the
not the payroll. Well, let's
the employees.
scroll down and,
It
okay.
has vouchers, it just doesn't.
It's just the vouchers. It doesn't have payroll on it. Okay,
Mhm.
you're right.
Yep.
I thought you were questioning the vouchers as well.
Well, I am. But that's another story that I was starting with this one.
Okay, this is a change that's brought for us to take a look at and see if it's something that council decides that we don't like, then we go back to the old way. But I think that the finance committee did look at it and say, hey, let's give it a try. I don't think that anybody said finally say, hey, this is absolutely the way we're going to do it forever. I don't
Why
think
did
that was
we
ever the
change
intent.
it before it came before council, Dean? The subcommittee met, but I don't think they voted, and they can't vote for the rest of us to change it. And I don't think that's what they intended in the subcommittee, was to have this come before council changed without council's full approval.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, you're on the subcommittee. What was the intent of the subcommittee when you guys met?
Just that. I mean, my concerns were the same as Councilor Hancock, but as Ms. Was it Kowski? As she stated, it was after the deadline. So, and I did tell her if she could bring it before council for a full vote. And there were some other issues with it being, I guess, a liability to the city if we provide any of the names. I don't know if our lawyer can say anything about that, if it is or not. But she did provide, the payroll check registry to us before council. I think going forward, if it's something that, as a council, as a whole council, we can agree to a process and something we could stick with.
Well, council needs to approve the expenditures, and so that has to come before council. And whatever comes before council has to come before the public. For the information of the public, our entire agenda is available to the entire public the instant that's available to council. And so whatever you can see from the city website as far as city meetings, that whole packet is available to the entire community, everybody on the planet who wants to access it. So go ahead, Mr. Ostro.
You said that during your conversation, you all discussed possible liabilities. Quinn, could you weigh in on that, on what liabilities we might be facing if the names are listed?
No, I don't think there would be any liabilities. It is public information. And I see cities do it different ways. I mean, some cities do include all this information in their packet. Other cities, will make it available to council members. Like they have it available. They can come check it if they want to, but the only information in the packet is the numbers. But yeah, the public is 100% entitled to know who works for the city, how many hours they're working, what leave they're taking, and how much money they're making, right? That's what the public is entitled to know. So,
Okay,
Okay,
so we'll
Miss-
get them next time.
And that is what we have promised the citizens is full transparency. And I think some municipalities give out more information, of course, not social securities, but I think some of them even get out of addresses. I do not want to do that. But I do not want to keep the citizens of the city of Sunnyside that paid these bills from being able to access what we are paying them. And I just think now is not the time to change that.
Okay, can we just
Okay.
bring it back?
Can
And that's
we-
it?
I think so. Counselor Hancock, you've pulled the entire claims voucher. So what's the rest that you've got on there?
Well, these are claim vouchers, some of them from when we turned back all the claim vouchers a few weeks ago, close to a month ago. We were told that if we had questions about claim vouchers, that wouldn't it be nice if we now emailed Kelly ahead of time, and I don't like surprises, so I'm all in on that, and CC'd Mike. And so I did on many, many of these claim vouchers. I have yet to receive any kind of return on those questions, such as Colton Consulting LLC. I asked for the contract, and when council approved it, $3,000 a month. I don't know how long it is for, but Mr. Colton shows on his PDC website that it's for 3 years. It's that $72,000 for a consult or for a lobbyist. I think what happened in Olympia was wonderful news, but it did not. If I shouldn't say it did not. I cannot know if it followed process. Vicky, turn around and just
You're addressing the.
yes, yeah.
Please address your comments to council and
Okay.
Counselor Frausto.
Well, quit giving me the dirty looks, Vicky.
Counselors,
Yes.
please address.
So
your comments.
I was being fine. So here we are. We have, I'm not saying the lobbyists didn't do a good job, but if we are taking these contracts and looking at these contracts and they're supposed to come before council and we're spending $72,000 and we ask the question and the question has not been answered in the best part of a month. And there's others. I asked about the letter mailed. I asked about, I've got it. I asked about the training from Arteaga. And I asked for the lobby days personnel charges for a towel and something else. I asked for Maresco. Where did this charge go? $302,000, $30,000, $200 for what? What was the spending authority? I asked for several things. Here they are back on here. And I have not been responded to by staff. And I understand public records requests, but as a counselor who must now vote for these items, and I've asked for the clarification and the clarification did not come. I personally will not vote for these vouchers until clarification is sent out on what we are voting for.
All right, Ms. Cockey, have you been able to address any of these questions as far as what these expenses are?
So my staff has been working on doing the research for the contracts and trying to find the exact invoices so that we get you complete and accurate information. However, we are shorthanded in the finance department, and it might be helpful if you, as the council, helped us prioritize the work that should be done and in what priority order. Since we are short-staffed, if we need to move something off of our plate to move this up into the priority order, we can certainly do that, but we will need a bit of direction from the council on what that should be.
Okay, because I know for myself, I don't know, I don't remember what Amoresco is. And so are you able to give an answer at least what Amoresco is?
Actually, a lot of those items that Councilmember Hancock asked about took place before I actually arrived with the city of Sunnyside. So I do not have direct knowledge about those invoices and contracts.
Okay, thank you. Do you think that you'll be able to look some of these up in the next couple of weeks and get an answer back?
Again,
I know you've got a lot going on.
finance is still operating in a short staff fashion, and it would be helpful if council could give us some direction as to the priorities. If that request is a priority and we need to move some other things off of our plate, it'd be helpful if we could identify what that would be.
Okay. Counselor Hancock, would you?
We have gotten ourselves into this position because with our budget, because we have asked questions, we haven't always got answers. It is not in the best interest of council or the city that we are approving vouchers, $30,000, $72,000, that we don't have the contracts for, and we don't have the understanding of what we're doing. And this is our primary job. And that's all I'm saying is when this has gone on a month and I don't think the information's been provided to council, and I asked it to be provided to all of council, not just me, so that all of council was aware. I cannot vote to clear these up. I'll come back for any kind of special meeting to clear them up once the answers are there. But I'm not voting tonight to vote for things that I have no clue what I'm even voting for.
Okay, and some of these may have been approved before you were on council, Counselor Frausto.
That was actually going to be my question. Counselor Hancock, you listed a few of those items, and I know a few of those items we actually approved before you were appointed to this council. I am quite concerned that Counselor Hancock has listed various asks, and she says that is our primary job. I think our job is to request transparency and is to align our vision with those of the city managers and the staff and the communities. What I'm also hearing in between those lines is burdening. I don't want our staff to
Mayor,
get.
point of order. Wait, no, Vicky, this is not about
We
you.
have to
This
vote.
is
If
not
that's the
about
point of order, we have to.
Counselor
let me-
Frausto has the floor.
Let me talk.
I am getting feedback over here from citizens that I think is out of line. And
Counselor Frausto has. the
okay,
floor.
Let me talk and let me
Address the chair,
finish.
Counselor
Let me finish.
Frausto.
I didn't interrupt you, Counselor Hancock.
mhm.
I don't want to get to a point where we're asking, and I'm sure they're working diligently at answering our questions and answering your questions, Counselor Hancock, but our staff is working at max capacity. And I think we have had those conversations amongst ourselves about how overwhelmed our staff is at City Hall. I don't doubt that they are working diligently to answer the requests, but I think if we have requests, then they get in line. If there's something that's completely urgent, fire burning, then we can, I think to Kelly's point, maybe we can address what those priorities are. But I would hate to start putting the staff that quite frankly are under the purview of the city manager, getting them to a point where they feel overburdened, stressed, and when we start seeing turnover, that is not our priority. Our priority, again, is policy making, is creating a vision for the community, is implementing a vision, the greater vision that we have for this community, but is not overburdening our staff at City Hall that are working tirelessly to make sure that they are getting our questions answered and they are running the operations of their roles.
All right, thank you. When this discussion is in danger of going off the rails rather quickly, it is a question about our claim vouchers on the consent agenda. I think there's probably no disagreement that the payroll information needs to be included in this information and what goes out to the public. I don't think we want to keep that information from the public. I don't think that was your intention at all. I think whatever reason it was left off of that particular publication and so it didn't get out. Honestly, you could tell by my question earlier that it just went right on by me. I didn't even notice that. So that will be corrected in the future, I'm sure, and we won't have this problem again. And for the public's information, all of our employees have been paid, and you can probably go back to last month and see what they got paid this month. But yes, that will be corrected in the future, and that's definitely, that was a good observation by Councilor Hancock. This format
Kelly.
for the information of the public, this is a new format of reporting our claim vouchers and expenses and income. And the finance director, Ms. Koski, who met with the finance subcommittee over this past week, has been working on this for some time and is bringing it up to council for the first time. And so there's expected a little bit of confusion, perhaps pushback on this format. No, council has not formally approved of this yet. This is an opportunity for us to see how it works. The intention is to make it more clear for both council members and the public and help us to understand it looks more like something out of your QuickBooks account or your checkbook, if you still keep a checkbook. But it's just to try to make things clear for everybody involved. And so it's an attempt to try to do things. As usual, when there's an attempt to try to change things, there's always a little resistance from anybody and everybody because we're all resistant to change, every single one of us, and we need to understand the new system. I don't know how to respond, Councilor Hancock, to your wanting to pull the entire claim vouchers on this one. But are there more questions you have on the claim vouchers at this point? You pulled the.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely do, because I do not see how we can, if we continue to pay $3,000 a month to Colton Consulting, and I think Mr. Colton's a perfectly good guy. I have not talked to a council member yet that knows that we have entered into this contract, and maybe not. But it is still incumbent upon me, if other council members have told me they don't remember the specific contract, they don't remember it coming before them, and then we're allowing this. It is, if he's entered into, Mr. Gonzalez, into a 3 or 4 year contract at $3,000 a month, that is over his spending authority. I don't know how hard it could be if council allowed this and council completely said, this is okay, go for it. Why I can't get a copy of that contract? That has to be very easy to come up with. And the signed contract and the council authorization. This is not a days long thing. This is not a 50-hour long thing. This is a very, very easy thing to do. The same with Ortega Consulting. They had an agenda on there, something on there for $16,000. I just asked for clarification and a copy of the contract because to me it appeared outside the contract. Now, again, I say to you, and I'm not comfortable with a voucher that says Dennis C. Wheats K&D machine 33848 statement. We just had citizens bring us statements. And I'm not saying it is current, but if we don't, as a council, really, we know what this got us into before. So if it just says statement 33848, what do we know that's for? We don't even know what department it's for. I'm assuming that the backflow management letters mailed 444 was for the water department, but do we know that? And I think that is stuff that we got in trouble with last time, and then how we ended up with closing our pool and closing our community center and closing down things that we did not want to close down is that council was trusting. And I want us to trust, but I want us to trust and verify. And I think that is our job. Our job isn't just to say, okay, we trust you and whatever you say, we're going to pay for. I don't think that's what staff wants us to do. You know, I'm not staff, I mean, the community. So, you know, I think the community hopes we are just kind of keeping an eye on this, especially after what happened for the last few years. And people on this council who decided that they were going to vote to replace the last city manager voted. I mean, we're asking these same questions and now are coming up against me asking any questions. And I find that just concerning. I think if council has questions, and we're 7 different people, we have 7 different needs for information. I don't like the hostility. I want it to stop. If I have a question that I think I need to be answered, I don't think that it should have to become a public records request if it's a copy of a contract, a copy of an item that I have a question about. That's my job.
All right, thank you, Counselor.
Mhm.
And I would echo a little bit of concern. I know part of the idea of all of this is to give us more information. So seeing the term statement, I see it on a couple of them. There's one on HD Fowler Company Incorporated statement, $5,500. It would be helpful because we don't always remember what each of these companies is. So if you could clarify that and say, you know, I mean, those of us who know Denny Wheats, we probably know what he's charging for. But if you don't know who he is or what he does, then you may have some questions there. And so, yeah, that should probably be clarified a little bit. Yeah, even in our personal information, we have to probably do a little bit better on that. So some of that stuff could probably be clarified a little bit more so that we know what we're paying for. We know what each of these checks and vouchers is for so that there's no confusion such as that.
Yes, and I agree, and I will direct staff to be more clear. I have already directed staff to be more clear in their descriptions that they are providing as they're entering items into the system for payment. My hope was that this different format for the vendor payments would actually add more clarity because it does have quite a bit more of the memo section included in the report. However, if you don't feel that that is the case, please discuss it amongst yourselves and come to a conclusion.
Well, so what I'm referring to here is, for example, we've got All-Star Supply, janitor's closet, $607 statement, $331.25. Right underneath that, we've got the lock shop and the amount for $141.74, name tags, nameplates, door handle for Sunnyside Park. Okay, so that's clear. Now I know what you spent at the lock shop and I understand what it was for. But what'd you do at the janitor's closet? Now that happens to be one of my big suppliers. I spend a lot of money there. I know what they do, but not everybody does. So yeah, what did you buy there? Cleaning supplies.
I will make sure that the staff that are entering all of this information watches this council meeting this evening so that they explicitly know exactly what the council is asking for.
Okay, we're not trying to make their life more difficult, but we're just trying to make us understand a little bit better. And this is a new system, so there's going to be a little bit of growing pains before we make sense. Councilor Hancock, is this helping at all?
It helps me at all. I am still not going to vote for the vouchers.
Okay.
Wait,
Deputy Mayor?
I guess I have a few questions, Kelly. The last time we approved vouchers was March 24th. Voucher 111396 through 111493. And we haven't approved any vouchers, but then the ones for today start with 11602. There's a big gap in there.
So the mayor graciously brought this up to my attention this afternoon. The missing pieces from 410 backwards were included in the council packet that was my very first day of work here at the city of Sunnyside. He reminded me that those vouchers had been pulled. I did not realize that at the time, and at the time that we had to turn in our submission for the agenda. So those will be included with the next council packet so that we can have full approval for those. And I apologize for that omission. Hopefully some grace can be given since it was my very first day on the job.
Yeah, understandable. Thank you.
Yeah, we try not to inflict any pain on the first day. We always have a little bit of mercy there.
Only on the first day.
Second day, however.
Everything after that.
All right, Counselor, yes, Ms. Ripley.
Okay, I had a few questions on, let's see, it was 4264. That was, PP&L charge for 48,000. Was that for 1 month? Let's see, it says 425 to 425. And then I had another one on 4292. It's Yes Wasco. Monthly marketing consulting. 8,889. Do you know what exactly that is?
You know, off of the top of my head, I do not.
Uh-huh.
However, when I am asked questions, I do like to do my full research
Mhm.
so that I have complete and accurate answers. I would be happy to get back to you with those answers, but I would like the ability to research them fully.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I can.
Yeah.
The,
Thank you.
yes, Wasco, I have some familiarity.
Thank you for that, sir.
So if council remembers, LTAC and the council approved, I believe, 100,000 for the manager to
Oh.
go out and do some of the advertisement marketing, for the city. So that's what they're doing there.
But
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor, we
Mhm.
did ask him to submit an RFP for those monies. He didn't, and he did say in those LTAC meetings that he would bring those back to us and approve them through us. Not necessarily as contracts, but that council would be aware of how he was spending the money.
Mr. Mayor, he did submit an RFP and LTAC approved it and the council approved it.
Yes, sir.
It was a complete RFP after I was gone, George?
Yes.
Okay. So you were aware of Wasco and?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay. Very good. So yeah, if you get that information back, Wasco is already taken care of, but that PPNL, I'm guessing is for more than a month, but we could find out. I know the bills have gone up, but
Mhm.
it seems like a lot. Yeah. All right. Other questions on the claims vouchers? All right. Council, what is the desire of council on the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
A second.
All right, we've got a motion by Councilor Hart, second by the Deputy Mayor to approve the consent agenda with the note that there is information that Ms. Koski is going to supply to all of council on a couple of transactions and try to clarify in the future some transactions and also include information that council has requested. And we'll try to get this system better. Hopefully in a couple of cycles, we can get to where we feel, okay, do we want to continue this type of process or do we want to go back to the old way? And council will be able to decide on that. Okay. Is there debate on this item? Ms. Ripley?
Are we going to get the contracts? Those are important.
I think we can direct the manager to get us those contracts. I think that is within council's authority. That's not part of the consent agenda, but we can definitely direct the manager to do that.
So you're asking us to approve these before we know what the contracts say and what they're for?
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
there have been some contracts that have been mailed to Counselor Hancock and now forwarded over to the whole council. And it's some contracts, one of them is Arteaga and the other is, was it Colton? But it's in your inbox.
Just now, though.
No, it was sent May.
The email that I sent you on May 1st, there are some of the responsive documents, and I had noted in there that you would get more of them by Friday, May 16th.
Does that answer your question, Councilor Hancock?
No.
Okay. All right. Further debate on this item? All right. On your vote, Councilor Hancock,
No.
Councilor Ripley,
Yes.
Councilor Fausto,
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez,
Yes.
Councilor Hart,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor.
Yes.
I too vote yes, motion passes. And that's contingent upon all of us getting the information that has been requested. I look forward to seeing those contracts. I didn't see them come up. Did you just email that all the way out to council just now? To all of council?
Yes, I had emailed Teresa, I think answers to 4 of the questions that she had posed in her public records requests. And I just, as you guys were asking, I forwarded that copy to you guys so that you could also see it.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Active agenda. Item A, Munson Property Purchase and Sale Agreement. Approve a resolution authorizing the city manager the sale to move forward, I'm guessing, with the sale of the Munson property. Ms. Koski.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In your agenda packet this evening is the acceptance of the counteroffer that the city of Sunnyside came up with for the F&M Investments LLC for approximately 77 acres of city-owned property that's located at 2920 Outlook Road, also known as the Munson property. This item is on the agenda for further council discussion, action, or approval.
All right, thank you. Council, we did meet in executive session on a couple of times dealing with the possibility of the sale of this property. And we spoke with realtors and we spoke with the manager and got recommendations from the realtor. We sent back a counter offer. We've received, I'm assuming this is an acceptance of our counter offer. And so now it's an opportunity for us to move ahead. And the realtors are present with us this evening and are willing to entertain questions, I'm sure. So council, you've had a chance to read over this. What is the feeling of council on this item?
Well, I have a couple questions. Is this gentleman the one that is on our planning commission?
No.
Okay, great. That was one of my concerns because I didn't have time to look at it today to see if that was the gentleman on our planning commission.
Deputy Mayor.
I have a question, maybe Kelly can answer. So we currently owe on that property, if this goes through 100%, right? Hopefully it does. Will that amount be used to pay off the complete loan that we owe? And that being said, the remainder of the acres, the city will own free and clear.
That's correct. Excuse me so much. That amount that they have countered offered with would pay off the remaining debt that the city has for the property.
Mhm.
And we would have the other half of the property to do with as the council sees fit.
Okay, thank you.
The
One more
question.
question.
Just a second. Anybody else got questions? Councilor Hancock.
The money from this sale will go directly where?
So it's my understanding that the purchase of the property, those funds came together from several different departments within this city. The remaining amount that is due will be allocated back to those different departments in an allocation percentage based on the amount that they originally put in for the purchase price.
Do we have a list of those? Have we been given a list of those?
I'm sure you haven't. I have not even seen a list of those yet.
I don't want to hold up the sale, but I would immediately like to see where these funds need to go back to, and the percentages so that we're prepared.
Certainly, I can do that. I just want to make sure that I understand that the priority for me now, as I go back with staff, is to find the documentation of the percentage of the Munson property that was provided by the different departments. Is that correct?
I think, is council in agreement with that? Talking about the allocation of the funds once they're received by the city, how they're going to be dispersed among different departments.
My understanding, if it's a loan, it's being paid off by the general fund right now. So I believe that the money would go back into the general fund. I think the other property on Ray Road is the one that was paid off from like five different funds.
Yeah.
That one was, yeah, I know that one for a fact. I wasn't on council when the Munson property was purchased, so I don't know where that came from.
No, but did you just say to us that it came from several funds?
That was my
I
understanding.
know there were bonds. Does that make a difference?
Well, it was quite some time ago.
It was quite some time ago.
um, greatly complicates the finding of that information.
Mhm.
So far, I have not been able to find an allocation table or an amortization schedule for those payments in any of the files on the network. So it could be that we will need to go back to the paper archives in order to find that information.
Does that add any complication to the sale of this?
It does not.
Okay.
It's just information as to how the funds coming in from the sale will be directed throughout the chart of accounts.
Counselor Hart.
Well, it was my understanding, and I was covering the, when I was working as a reporter, and that the money came, we took out a loan actually on some bonds, sold bonds in order to buy that property. So it's probably, we have to pay that amount of money back first before we decide where we're going to disperse it. Because it was, if I recall correctly, it had to do with a bunch of bonds that we took out on a loan so that we could purchase that property. We didn't take it out of general funds. And
For that information.
so I think if you look there, you will have a better chance of figuring out where the money's at and where it's supposed to be paid back to. But first we have to pay off those loans.
Correct.
That's what we got to pay off first. Then we can figure out what we want to do with the money. And we may have an entirely different approach to how we serve it because it was not taken from the general fund, from any one pocket of money in the general fund.
Okay, that's very good information to know, and that should be helpful. Thank
I
you.
hope
very
so.
much.
It is always helpful to have a reporter on council with depths of knowledge. We'll get that information figured out, but we do have to satisfy the debt that we have before we do anything else. All right, further questions on this potential real estate transaction? Hearing none, what is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve.
Second,
All right, motion by Deputy Mayor seconded by Councilor Hart to approve a resolution authorizing the city manager to move forward with the sale of the Munson property. Is there debate on this item? Hearing none. Councilor Hancock,
Yes.
Councilor Ripley,
Yes.
Councilor Frausto,
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez,
Yes.
Councilor Hart,
yes.
Deputy Mayor.
Yes.
I too vote yes. Motion passes. This transaction can move forward. Gentlemen, you get a little bit of work ahead of you and hopefully it all goes very smoothly. I will say that as I've been on council for a few years, we've sold this property a couple of different times and it ended up not selling. So I'm really looking forward to it actual being a sale.
You're going to see.
I'd like something to follow through. I'd like to see houses and structures built on this. I'd like to see infrastructure in there. I want to see something happening there. I'm really excited about that. That would be one thing that would just really make me happy.
Me as well.
All right, item B. Conversion of intersections at 5th and Edison and 9th and Edison to four-way stops. Approve a resolution authorizing the conversion of two intersections from two-way stops to four-way stops. Ms. Kosky.
I'm behind you, Kelly.
Thank you, Gus. So item B, the conversion of intersections at 5th and Edison and 9th and Edison. I believe those topics were brought up with different solutions at the last council meeting. And I will defer to Mr. Arteaga to remind us all of what those decisions were.
Mr. Arteaga.
Thank you. Last Monday, we presented a couple options for the intersection at Fifth and Edison. And the consensus was to move forward with a four-way stop conversion. And we spoke with the owner of a bridal, discussed the process. He submitted a letter of support dated May 9th, 2025. He's very supportive of the idea and suggested that we take the first two stalls on the east side of the building and convert those to ADA stops. And then the third one, then label that one for small vehicle parking only. Enforcement will be a challenge, but I think it's a good start for us. Today, Hector and I met with the railroad to get some input as to the stop bar on the west side of the tracks. So we need to provide them with a where the crossbucks are, and there's a yield sign there. Change that over to a stop sign. A smaller sign below it that says no parking on tracks, and then the UTC manual of if there's a damage to there, you call this number because it's a state requirement. The field man was pretty supportive, but we need to contact the Yakima office to get their support. So and then we talked about the intersection of 9th and Edison, doing the same thing, converting it to a four-way stop. So should council approve that, we will continue meeting with the businesses that will be within the area to make sure that everybody understands the reason as to why we're doing, get some buy-in. We would advertise the conversion for at least a 2-week period. We would flag the areas that we're going to place the new signs to make sure that people have plenty of time to be aware of the conversion. Then we would start the process. Again, the addition of basically it's going to be 4 signs, 2 on Edison, 2 on Division that we'll have to add because we already have 2 in place at each location. And then some signage that we'll have to buy. So we'll be in the $1,000 budget range to have those in place. So we feel that it's a good start for us, and we would monitor and make sure that it's working properly and adjust where we need to adjust. So,
All right. Council, questions for Mr. Arteaga, Ms. Hart?
Did I understand you to say that the railroad were interested in having those crossing bars come down? Is that?
No. Well, that would be in the future. I think that would be a good project to add to the tip to see if we can make that automated arms, crossing arm and lights. But for now, there's a crossing, a sign, there's a crossing on it that says railroad crossing. We have to continue to keep that up, but we can place a stop sign just below it because currently there's a yield sign that's there. So the maintenance supervisor said, just replace the yield sign with a stop sign, put your smaller signs and not to stop on the tracks, and the informational UTC sign. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Ms. Hancock?
Well, I thought in our meeting that we had the other day that we wanted to give at least the public a couple of weeks to respond to this. I thought that we didn't, because it was just a week ago, and I think we said a couple weeks and make sure everybody is notified and has the time to come in and speak. Is there a reason that it has to be tonight, or can it be at our next scheduled meeting?
I think tonight is from what I understood was that you were going to give me some direction. So if you want to go slow, we can take as many months as you want. If you want to expedite it, we can try to expedite it as quick as we want. But I think the consensus is that we convert it to a 4-way stop because financially we can't go any bigger than it. We can't add the lights. We can't add a single light. So that is our most economical, safest option. So
And I agree with that. That my question was more the public input because
that's why I said 2 weeks of advertising that. So that gives the public 2 weeks within that time frame. I would come back and say, I've received 10 calls and this is the concerns. Maybe we need to extend out another 2 weeks, or if you wanted to have a public hearing, we could address that as we move forward. Because if we advertise for 2 weeks, right now, I think I've received Chris and about 4 other calls, and they're all supportive. The calls that I've received is, thank you for looking at these intersections. These are dangerous intersections. We have gone to council before. Nothing has ever happened. they're looking forward to seeing those signs up. So the public is telling us that there is a problem. Staff is bringing to you a economical solution. It's in your court.
We can put a date on it if council decides to do that, and we can say, you know what, let's open it up for public comment. And if we don't hear any negative public comment, we can have this happen on June 1. That is up to council to do that if we want to put that into the motion. Otherwise, we can say, get started and work on it tomorrow. That is, again, council's decision. I know I spoke to some of the business owners as well. I participated in the Goat Fest on Saturday afternoon, and the people I spoke to there were enthused about the idea. They thought it was fantastic, especially those walking back and forth between Centennial Square and Varietal. They felt it was going to be a wonderful idea. So I know there's support for that. I know also on Facebook, I saw some people who were commenting against it and didn't want a four-way stop there, but it may be that they don't drive on that street in that intersection very often. I don't know. I avoid that intersection now because it is such a pain. So.
No, but absolutely giving them time to speak would be nice.
Sorry. Just a second, Gus.
It seems to me that I'm having talked with people who frequent the brewery and also people who have complained about the trucks hanging out over and having my daughter almost one time get run over at that intersection. I'm very much in favor of having the four-way stop. I'm also very excited about the fact that you're going to put in 288 ADA in those first two. And I know that when on occasion, the people at the brewery have also put out cones there to designate those places as ADA so that to get the trucks to move down just a little bit further. And I like the idea of having that one small vehicle. So those first three have to be recognized as something special. But I think that we should move ahead with the conversion. We're getting into the summer. We've already got people who are, I think this is another thing that will probably help to reduce the traffic as it goes over the railroad tracks and on up Edison because they have to slow down, come to a complete stop before they get to. So I think that's another practical application to having the stop signs there. I'm very much in favor of moving ahead with it now.
All right, thank you, Gus.
In the summary that I provided, it says that if council approves the recommendation at the May 12th, which is tonight, council meeting will follow the process and should have the conversion implemented by June 9th. So if you want to go July 1, that's fine as well. But I figured that we would give the public almost a month to comment and let us know if we're doing the right thing or if they're happy with the idea or not.
Deputy Mayor.
Well, I think it's been about a year since I first heard about this problem. And actually, Mr. Arteaga, I want to thank you for making it fast, right? Making this a quick process. I think until you got here, you're the one that grabbed it by the horns and made it happen and brought a solution to council. And I think it's up to council, to make it happen. We know that there's a need for a four-way stop sign there. I respect that the Councilor Hancock wants to hear a little bit more from the public, but I believe we've heard for about a year now that we need to make this happen.
Councilor Vasquez.
Yeah, I was also gonna say just the 2 weeks. I think that's a good amount of time. And I also just wanted to extend my thank you to Chris because on his letter, he specifically says, I have witnessed numerous collisions at this intersection and many more near misses, including some with pedestrians. And that's absolutely true. The current layout that does not include a stop sign / bar for the cross traffic heading east and west on Edison and is, in my view, dangerous. And this is exactly that. And I've also brought this up countless of times. So just the fact that this is finally going to move forward and to some action, I'm ready and I'm excited for that. So.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, I feel the same way. I think this solves a couple of problems. I know citizens and council members have brought this up, and this is the first time it's come before us for a vote. But it has been seen for some time as a dangerous intersection. And we've also had citizens complaining about to the west of that intersection where people start to go up the hill and they accelerate. And this may slow them down just a little bit too. And hopefully that reduces the noise reverberating through their house as people accelerate up the hill without mufflers. So I think it has the potential of solving or at least helping in a couple of different problems that have been expressed by citizens in that stretch of the street. I have really been in favor of a four-way stop there for some time. And I know, like I said, the business owners I spoke with were enthusiastic, community members I spoke with. Now, again, I've noticed on Facebook, there's different responses, but I think generally speaking, I'm falling down in favor of this one as well. So,
And I am so also, Mayor, that I'm not opposing this at all. It's just that at our workshop, we said, make sure we have plenty of time for public input. And we all said this was a good idea, but the public input was part of the thing that we said on that meeting. And so that I'm sensitive to what we said at that meeting and that people have had enough time. Because when you put it out on the website and it's a short period like that, people are on vacations or they got other obligations or whatever, and they might have something that we need to hear. But I'm not having an issue with moving forward. I just said that we at that meeting, we said we were going to give people time. So that was my issue.
okay, thank you for that.
Mhm.
All right. Further discussion on this item. Ms. Rausta.
If we do the 2 weeks, how far out does this project extend to?
I think if we do the advertise it for 2 weeks, flagged area for 2 weeks, so now we're 4 weeks. And that would still shoot us for the June 9th. A month from now.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we've been, I think since as far as I can remember, since we first started on council, actually probably the three of us, we've been hearing repeatedly about this intersection being an issue. And Councilor Vasquez, you've been bringing it up quite often. I think members of the community, Britton Moore just brought it up not too long ago, and it wasn't her first time bringing it up either. And I myself have heard personally from community members as well how problematic that intersection is, and we need to do something about it. I think, like you mentioned before, last time, Cuss, it might not be. I think our best option, but I think it is what we can do now, and then we can move forward from that. I too would like to see us move a little quicker on this, given that we've been hearing from the public for quite some time.
All right, Ms. Ripley.
I've brought this before council because it's a troublesome
Yeah.
intersection, and I don't see how we can go wrong
Yeah.
in putting the four-way stop there. And if we give notice now that there's 2 weeks that they can give their input, that should be good. I think we should move forward.
All right,
And
further
thank you
discussion
for
or
your
debate on
work.
this item?
Nope, except I lived at that intersection for 30 years. I do know it's a bad intersection. I just think when in our last meeting that we said that about the time. And so, if council deems it to be dangerous, then we'll do it.
And we're talking about two intersections here. So
Right.
when we vote on this one, we're voting on two.
Mhm.
And so both of them are dangerous. All right, so what is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve.
Second. I'll second, yeah.
Make my writing legible. All right, I got a motion by Councilor Frausto, second by Councilor Vasco to approve a resolution authorizing the conversion of two intersections from two-way stops to four-way stops, and that would be 5th and Edison and 9th and Edison. Is there debate on this item? Hearing none. Councilor Hancock.
Yep.
Councilor Ripley.
Yes.
Councilor Frausto.
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez.
Yes.
Councilor Hart.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor.
Yes.
And I too vote yes, motion passes. All right. I have before me this evening two proclamations to run by council. You recall, council wants to be able to approve these proclamations before they're read into the record. The first one is National Emergency Medical Services EMS Week, National EMS Week proclamation. Approve a resolution proclaiming May 18 through 24, 2025 as National EMS Week in Sunnyside, Washington. Council, you've all had the opportunity to read the proclamation. Is there comments, questions, discussion on this item?
Move to approve.
Oh, okay.
had a
I think we need to allow them to. Councilor Frausto.
Thank you for all your work. Thank you for all you do for community. I think I was having a conversation with you, and and a couple other firefighters, and EMS personnel. And right away, my spirit goes back to when we went to go shadow the firefighters and the EMS folks over in, where was it, Deputy Mayor?
Hanford?
Yeah. I barely made it out of there. So I thank you so much for all y'all do. And I think this proclamation is definitely worthy. Yeah.
Okay, further comments on this?
I would just like to throw into the record, Mayor, if you don't mind, that we did have a few members of our home department, Sunnyside Fire, that were here to enjoy this moment with us. But ironically, they got dispatched out to an emergency medical incident. So they're unfortunately not able to be here to accept this, but that was our intent. But our number one priority is public safety, and that's what they're out there handling. So.
Well, and there is somebody out there who is extra grateful for them at this moment. So, all right. So we have a motion by Councillor Hart. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Motion by Councillor Hart, second by Councillor Frausto, so to approve the resolution proclaiming May 18 through 24, 2025 as National EMS Week in Sunnyside. Is there debate on this item?
Nope, just good job. Keep it up. I'm very proud of our EMS fire department. I think we have one of the top-notch ones.
Couldn't agree more. I appreciate that.
Very good. All right. For the vote, Councillor Hancock,
Yes.
Councillor Ripley,
Yes.
Councillor Frausto,
Yes.
Councillor Vasquez,
Yes.
Councillor Hart,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor.
Yes.
And I too vote yes, motion passes. And I'm going to read that proclamation into the record right now. Whereas emergency medical services are a vital public service. And whereas the members of Sunnyside Fire Department, as our community emergency medical service teams, are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas access to quality emergency medical care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. And whereas the emergency medical service system as a whole consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physician, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and accomplishments of emergency medical service providers by designation Emergency Medical Services Week. And now therefore I, Dean Broersma, Mayor of the City of Sunnyside, Washington, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the laws of the state of Washington, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of May 18 to May 24, 2025 as National Emergency Medical Services Week, and promote the recognition of our firefighting and EMS staff for their continuous dedication to our citizens and community throughout the year. In testimony whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Sunnyside to be affixed, done at the City of Sunnyside this 12th day of May in the year 2025. And I shall now sign. Two copies here. And Chief, I'm assuming you want one of these to go to the station.
Yes, please, sir.
All right, you go ahead and take that.
Mm.
Congratulations. Thank you, guys.
Down there?
Thank you.
Okay.
Back over here.
Good job. Hang in there.
Okay, Chief. Clerk would like a picture of you and I.
Unless everybody wants to.
No,
Unless
let's
everybody
just,
join me so I'm not solo?
no, you're gonna get your handshake.
No, it's just you and I.
see. Okay.
repeat it.
All right.
There you
Awesome.
go.
Thank you, Chief.
Very good.
For anybody watching, if you're ever dreaming about being on city council and you happen to become the mayor, this is the funnest part of being the mayor, is recognizing people who do an amazing job. And whether it's a high school student or our emergency services staff, it's fantastic. I have never seen anybody who doesn't deserve recognition yet. All right, the next item is another proclamation, National Police Week proclamation. Approve a resolution proclaiming May 11 through 17, 2025 as National Police Week in Sunnyside, Washington. Council, comments or questions on this item?
Let's do it. I make a motion to approve.
Councillor Hart is awfully excited about these proclamations this
I
evening.
love proclamations.
I'll
That's
second.
Great.
All right, we've got a second. Hey, motion by Councillor Hart, second by Deputy Mayor to approve a resolution proclaiming May 11 through 17, 2025 as National Police Week in Sunnyside, Washington. Is there debate on this item?
I just want to say we appreciate all the work that you folks do out there on the roads and in the Law and Justice Center from front to back. Good job.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes.
Yes, thank you to you and to
Yeah.
everyone.
All right. So if there's no further debate, Counselor Hancock, what's your vote?
Yes.
Counselor Ripley,
Yes.
Counselor Fausto,
Yes.
Counselor
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Counselor Hart,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor?
Yes.
I too vote yes, motion carries. And I will read that one into the record as well. Set my pen down so I don't scribble on it. All right, whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 11 through May 17, 2025 as National Police Week and May 15 as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and whereas members of law enforcement play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the residents of Sunnyside and across the nation, and whereas the city of Sunnyside recognizes the courage, dedication, and commitment of our police officers who serve selflessly every day to protect lives and property, uphold the rule of law, and maintain peace in our community. And whereas it is important that all residents understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of our law enforcement officers and recognize their continuing efforts to make our neighborhoods safer. And whereas we honor those officers who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty, and we express our deep appreciation for the services and sacrifice of the Sunnyside Police Department and all law enforcement agencies. Now I therefore, Dean Broersma, Mayor of the City of Sunnyside, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the laws of the state of Washington, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim May 11 through 17, 2025 as National Police Week. And I call upon all citizens to join in commemorating law enforcement officers, past and present, for their dedicated service to our community. Testimony whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Sunnyside to be affixed, done at the city of Sunnyside this 12th day of May in the year 2025.
You might as well.
Chief? I'm not sure. I'm looking at neither in this one. I do want to take this opportunity to say that I've had the opportunity to do the same training that the Deputy Mayor and Councilor Frausto went on last year with the fire department. And I also had the opportunity to do a ride along with one of our police sergeants one night and have come to a much greater appreciation of what all of these individuals do. If you ever want to have an eye-opening experience, ride along with one of our police officers on a Friday or Saturday night. They tell me that on the summertime, it's even more exciting. I went in January, but these guys earn their keep. They really do. I was impressed, quite often I'll have people criticizing, saying things like they don't pull people over very often. In 15 minutes, I think we had pulled over 4 people for not having appropriate license plates, for a tail light out, for erratic driving. Turns out, yep, they were drunk. That kind of stuff. These guys know their business. They see it quick. I didn't even notice. Most of the time he had his lights on, was doing a U-turn before I realized what we were doing. So, and the fire training, that is amazing. Unfortunately, as a general population can't do that, but it's by invite, and I had the privilege of being invited once, and wow. All right, next item of business. Item E, Local Government Investment Pool. Approve a resolution authorizing the Administrative Services Director, Kelly Koski, access to the LGIP. Ms. Koski.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. In your packet this evening, you'll find that there is a resolution which is created by the Local Government Investment Pool. This is a requirement that they have before they can allow access for anyone to those statements, to the funds, or to even be able to view any of the information that is in there. Currently, I do not have access to that information. And so this is just adding me to their approved list of users for their site.
Thank you. And council, every time we have a change in this department, somebody's in charge of our financial services, we have to approve their addition into their name added to that list. So this is a formality, but she cannot access it at all until we give permission for that to be done. So questions or comments on this item? Mr. Deputy Mayor.
So we're adding you in. Are we, once that's done, who else is in there? Do you know?
So currently, the only people that have access are Debbie Zabel and Jackie, our city clerk. We'll be removing Debbie, we'll be adding myself and the city manager. Once we do have somebody that has filled the open position of the finance supervisor, then I would say we remove Jackie and include that person so that it is all within the finance and administrative services division.
Okay.
Any further questions?
On,
One more, sir. Go ahead.
I guess a follow-up. On one of these paragraphs, it says, let me see here, that it gives you, I guess, the right to designate of other individuals to make contributions and withdrawals on behalf of the government. Does that mean that you could later add somebody to be a designate?
So the way that I would like to handle that, Deputy Mayor, is that if we have other individuals that are included with that authorization, that we set up approvals, and the approvals cannot be like, if we initiate a withdrawal, that has to go through a higher level of approval before it actually takes place. The deposits, I think, are fine, but as long as I'm notified of additional funds that are going into that account.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'd like to have safeties in place just to make sure that there's no chance of errors occurring.
Always good to have separation of duties and internal controls.
Right.
I think Ms. Hancock made some valid points that we got, I think things got ahead of us in a few instances and we ended up with some financial issues and we want to prevent that from happening before they start. And so, yeah, checks and balances is brilliant. Further questions or comments on this item? Hearing none, what is the desire of council on this item?
Move to approve the resolution authorizing Administrative Services Director Kelly Koski access to the LGIP.
Second it.
All right, we got a motion by Councilor Hart, second by Councilor Ripley. Thank you for reading that for me. Is there debate on this item? All right, hearing none. Councilor Hancock,
Yes.
Councilor Ripley,
Yes.
Councilor Fausto,
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez,
Yes.
Councilor Hart,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor.
Yes.
Two vote yes, motion passes. Thank you. All right, next item from council members, mayor's appointments for boards and commissions. I checked this afternoon and I didn't see anything new that had come into my inbox. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. Nope, she's saying no. Okay, we have not had the chance to meet. We've had other things that have taken up our time, but we need to get together with the rules committee and make some final appointments on a couple of things. I'm still waiting for some information on one board that we're talking about. I have not heard back yet, so I'm going to push that just a little bit more. We do have openings available on boards and commissions, and that is all on the city website. So if anybody is interested in serving, please go onto our website and apply, and we do look at every application. So other reports, announcements, and or questions by council. And since Ms. Hancock, you have to go vote first every single time, I'm going to let you make your report first.
I have nothing to report.
All right, Ms. Vasquez,
I have nothing to report today.
Ms. Ripley.
I do. I forgot to ask this. When we were going through the vouchers, the numbers were 111602 to 11680. Were we missing a 1 in that? Do we need to?
Yes, we certainly
We
will.
had to have been.
Do we need to change that? I mean, does it need to be changed?
I think the way that we should handle that is to just note that change in the minutes and continue with approval as.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we can note that. Yeah. Ms. Fausto?
Oh, yes, I actually do. City manager's not here. It's unfortunate because I was actually going to bring some good news. I got a call from the Seattle Sounders and the Seattle Reign earlier today, and they saw on LinkedIn that we were actually approved for the $1.3 million, which we went out and lobbied out in Olympia, along with the city manager. So again, really great investment because Seattle Reign and the Seattle Sounders are actually really enthused about that. And they said, and I quote, "Let us know as soon as the developments begin because we are on board to back that project." If y'all know, the World Cup is starting in, I believe it's next year. I believe next year, and some of the games are taking place in Seattle, and so they're both of the foundations, the Seattle Rain Foundation and Brave Foundation that comes from the Seattle Sounders, are investing in smaller communities or in Central Washington to make sure that these rural communities also get a part of the experience, especially our youth. So wanted to pass it on to council. We're doing really great things. I think investments really come a long way. The lobbying in Olympia is a great example of it. And we have Seattle Rain and Seattle Sounders eyeing us. So it's really great news.
That is exciting. Thank you for that. Deputy Mayor.
So LTAC met a couple of weeks ago, and this discussion we've had, I guess, all year and part of last year is how do we promote new events to Sunnyside? Something unique, something that could bring more tourists to our city. And we went ahead and voted and allocated $10,000 for new events. So anybody for 2026. So anybody that has any ideas of any new events that they can bring to Sunnyside, I believe the application process for that starts in June. Jackie, you could remind me when those start?
Yeah, it's usually in the summer. Get an update from city manager when he'd like to get that published.
Okay. And what some of the ideas from the committee members were something to do with the industries here in Sunnyside. We have a big ag industry, dairy industry, some sort of event that we can celebrate and bring some some good events, ice cream eating competition or ice cream making competition, whatever ideas. Just bring it forward. There's going to be the application that LTAC will be releasing, so keep an eye out for that. Another thing is, I know earlier we did the EMS and the police proclamation, but let's not forget that next week, 18th through the 24th is National Public Works Week. So I did see that earlier today, but I figured it'd be too late to add it to tonight's. But I know the last meeting we celebrated our clerks. Today we did the EMS and police, and let's not forget our public works because they're the heroes that nobody sees. They do a lot for the city. So hopefully we could get that on our next agenda for a proclamation for them.
For sure. Submit it.
That's all I got.
Absolutely.
Councilor Hart.
I just wanted to say I'm really excited about the Seattle Sounders. I know that during the course of the summer, the various soccer leagues in the valley here brought Sounders and over to do workshops with the kids.
Oh, yeah.
And our kids here in the Sunnyside, Granger, Grandview area. So this is really exciting that they're seeing it from a bigger prospect.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting. And I do want to say that I've really noticed that the city crews have really been out. I was really impressed by how quickly they cleaned the streets after Cinco de Mayo. The next day you could drive downtown and you didn't even know there'd been anything there. It was nice and clean. So kudos to the crews. If you could pass that along, thought that was really well done. The garbage was all good, well kept up. I think that was another kudos. I just really think that the whole Cinco de Mayo experience this year was, and to the police chief too, the visibility of officers of all ages out and about kept a lot of the normal, what do you call it when they want to get into a fight with each other, those little face-offs, so, there were some girls that thought that they were going to be all whoop-de-doo. And they got told, I think we're going to call your mom and have you explain to her why you're trying to disrupt this lovely event. But in any case, kudos to both departments for making it such a there was a number of reports in the paper in different places, the best one we've had in over 30 years. So I really give you great credit for that and the organizers as well. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I just want to echo what was said about Cinco de Mayo. I went to that. It was brilliantly done. Kudos to the police department and other security personnel who kept a lid on anything that even might have started. All the big ones were not connected to Cinco de Mayo this year. And so that was great. That's an evidence of pre-planning and working ahead and getting all things laid out. And that was nice. Everybody there seemed to be really enjoying themselves. I had more compliments from people on how that was running. One individual talked to me Saturday morning early already. He said this is the best one he's ever seen, the most organized one he'd ever seen. So, and that was unsolicited. Somebody happened to say, "Hey, Mayor," and he said, "Oh, you're the mayor. I just want to tell you this is great." Okay. So I don't know who he was, but he was quite enthusiastic about this, and other people I talked to also were very positive. I had an opportunity to attend the Yakima County Home Board meeting as far as dealing with the homeless situation. All the communities in the valley are struggling to have an appropriate response to homelessness. And 5 years ago, somehow or other, Sunnyside did not participate. And I'm not sure why or how that happened, but we were not on the current 5-year plan, and I wanted to make sure that that was not repeated. So I've been making sure that I'm part of that activity that's going on and seeing how that long-term planning can go and how Sunnyside can have a seat at that. I did not want to be part of the executive board, so I managed to dodge that particular bullet, but we had a couple of people who were appointed to that who I think are going to do a very good job of that. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be monthly meetings for the foreseeable future on moving forward and how to get that done best. I also attended the Goat Fest on Saturday. It was not hugely attended, but it was a fundraiser. They got together with a whole lot of local small breweries, and they brought a particular type of beer, and they were samples, and it was a entrance fee to get in, and all the funds raised went to Nuestra Casa for their programs. And I think Nuestra Casa was very enthusiastic about it. I think all the people who participated were very enthusiastic about it. I think this is something that can grow, and I'd love to see it continue to support Nuestra Casa. They've got some amazing programs, and that's just an organization that I want to support going forward.
Why is it called the Goat Fest?
You know what? I wish I knew the answer to that. I had it explained to me once, but it didn't stick in my head long enough for me to be able to tell you. So, but it has to do with
Doesn't it have to do with
all the beers were lagers, and there was just different.
Bach Fest? Isn't it?
I don't know. I really don't. I wish I had an answer. The other thing that I want to do is I got a lot of positive response about our interim Public Works Director. And as we're coming up on Public Works Week, Appreciation Week, I just wanted to pass that on to you. I am really pleased. I know we've had members of the community come before us on these four-way stops and these dangerous intersections, and we've tried to get something done, and for whatever reason, nothing past the council meeting ever happened. And 2 weeks later, you've got a plan put in place and you're ready to go. Thank you. Thank you for responding. You have done so much for the city of Sunnyside in the short period of time that you've been here. You're an interim, and you managed to get our wells online for just a small fraction of the cost that was estimated. You found, the city manager, of course, and you guys lobbying found money to fix the pool that we were told that, oh, we're just never going to have the money to fix that pool. We're just going to have to shut it down. Nope. Guess what? We found the money. You're getting things moving forward on that methane problem, and you've done a great job. And you put your crew to work. You got your people. The morale in the organization is quite high. So I'm very impressed and very pleased. And I just wanted to personally thank you for that. And then finally, in our last meeting, we had a citizen bring forward a whole bunch of credit card receipts. And it's a shame that they are not here this evening, but hopefully they're watching online. I went through every single one of those blessed receipts. And then I went back and checked our records. Every one of those receipts was approved by council when they were presented to council in a meeting. And every one of them was within the manager's discretionary spending limits. So she did not have to come in a public meeting and get approval prior to spending that. She did, however, not keep that a secret from council. She, like every other manager I've ever worked with, liked to have one-on-one meetings and would inform each of us council members in those meetings of what her intentions were. She had some definite plans with these events. And so council said individually to her, yes, okay, that sounds like a good idea. Sure. Or at least try, see what happens. It may not have ever been done again. Maybe it was a one-time thing, but every one of these was approved by council. And so, whether you thought those or you or anybody else thought those expenditures were a great idea, they were approved by council at the time. And I do want to remind everybody that the previous city manager has not worked for the city now for over a year. And she has hopefully moved on with her life. We certainly wish her the best. She has new employment, and the new employment is not governed by the city of Sunnyside or by city council. And so unless or until we find some evidence of illegal activity that we need to deal with as a city, there's been several audits and finance directors who have not found evidence of wrongdoing. So, from the city's perspective, I don't know, members of the public are more than welcome to do their public records requests and research as hard as they want, but I would caution people, please do not fall into the realm of harassment or anything else that would open you up to legal a response to that one, because you may find yourself in a position that you didn't really intend to. So be cautious on that sort of thing. All right. And I know I spoke an awful lot tonight, and I apologize for that, council.
No apologies needed.
All right.
As far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. Item C, upcoming council meetings. Madam City Clerk.
Okay, our next meeting will be on Tuesday, May 27th at 6 p.m., where we will be discussing and reviewing fireworks, curfew, the allocation of opioid settlement funds, and a public records request policy. The next meeting after that is the June 2nd study session, where you will be receiving a presentation on the 6-year TIP and interpreting services.
All right, thank you. And council members, if you have anything else that needs to be added to the agenda, please speak to myself or the manager and get those items added to the agenda. Please at least no later than the Wednesday before the meeting.
Jackie, can you scroll back up a little bit? So these are, now it's going to be the council request.
Yes.
Okay, never mind.
Okay. Next item on the agenda then is council request status report. And if we could get that up on the screen. All right, so first item on there is our dog breeding ordinance. Do we have an update on this item? Is that it?
Excuse me, Mayor and Council.
Yes.
At this point in time, I do not have an update on where we are with the dog breeding ordinance process.
Okay.
Apologize.
That is something that did come before council earlier this year. So we do want to have some sort of follow-up on that.
And we did ask for it to be back in April.
We did, and
At the last meeting of the month.
yes, we did, and that was last meeting. So
That was one.
But that is not when we asked it. We asked it to come before council, before I was even on
Correct,
council
correct.
in April.
correct, I was just thinking out loud. So it's been handed to animal control. We don't have a specific, well, we do have somebody dedicated to animal control, but not 100%. So I don't know if his time is allowing for that, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
If I remember correctly, before our previous economic development director left, he was going to work on it. He was going to look at the wording that I had provided on the ordinance. And obviously right now we don't have one, so I could see the delay for that.
That is true, because it was our former economic director who had taken charge of that. Okay.
Same may be so for the,
Let's see if we can get the manager to allocate that to, do you have a department head that you'd like to see that allocated to, Ms. Hancock? Because I think otherwise we'll talk to the manager and see if he can allocate that to one of his department heads.
No,
And-
I'm not necessarily. I mean, I think, it's another thing where we don't have to rewrite the wheel, that we can look at other ordinances in other towns. I just know that we said in a public meeting, we wanted it back in I wasn't here, but that we wanted it back in April, and we're into May now. So I just don't want it to fall off the radar. And, I don't think it would be that difficult to find some dog breeding ordinances from MRSC. So,
And I think the deputy mayor mentioned that he did provide some language to the former economic director. It's just that.
and that was a big topic at our workshop meeting.
Now he's left, and so we need to find somebody else who's going to take the reins on that one. Let me see what I can do with that one when I talk to manager, see if we can get someone allocated to work on that one. Okay, the fireworks is on the agenda coming forward. So I don't know if there's any more response to that. The Yellowstone Road, Roman Street, and that's Public Works. Gus, have you had any opportunity to? Can you speak into the microphone, please?
Not used to it, huh?
I've been working on these funding applications for the Public Works Board for this digester problem. And currently we have a $270,000 shortfall. So I've been working with YCDA on trying to get an application. I just haven't had time to squeeze that project in. So I met with Hector last week. I think we met last week, and I asked if he could assist me on trying to figure out that report to submit to you, because the digester project, I still have to work on a task order to get the engineers to help provide information. I need to work on a change order for because we are starting a digester heating system project this month. So I'm trying to see if we can get that contractor to bid on this new project as well. I need to get working with HLA on specs and repair estimates. I need to bring you a copy of the change order. And so my limited hours are, I'd either need to prioritize what's more important. And right now we need to get that digester project done. And the good part is, we were short 270,000, but in my meeting with YCDA last week, Mike and I both had a Zoom meeting with them, and we have the 9th and Lincoln lift station that's been a problem for, I guess, the last 10 years, and we need about $870,000 to make that one work. Looks like I'm going to be able to incorporate that with this project. So the 270 more to 1.1 million. And then there's another component at the treatment plant that is failing. So it appears that we might, it looks really well for us to get about $1.8 million from the seed fund, but it isn't until July. But I need to package that information to work with our engineers to make that happen. So at this point, I'm making an administrative decision and asking my assistant to help me with that piece.
Okay. That's satisfactory, Ms. Hancock?
Well, yeah, it's just, it's been on our list for 15, 20 years, so.
Right. And I understand it's right over your back fence, and so you see.
Well, that isn't the issue, though. It's not my back fence. I can live with it. I don't even see it most of the time, except when I'm driving by. It's just, there's a lot of other people that care about it, so.
So we're going to need some direction as to what it is that we're supposed to provide.
Okay. Go
Mayor,
ahead, Ms. Hart.
I'd like to get with you on that. Since I worked with the former city manager, Patrick Martin.
Mr. Casey.
Mr. Casey, he and I worked on that.
That'd be me.
Yeah, back to you.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Okay.
you may know some of that, but
So
I'd like to work with you.
The two of you can work on that.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor, you had a comment.
Yeah, so I've just, if Councilor Hancock can provide a little bit clarification. I know what the Yellowstone Road is, and I know it's been in the books for quite some time, but what is the end game that we're trying to get with the Yellowstone?
Well, do you know where it is? Right there
Yeah.
by the Palanteria?
Yeah.
And you see all those big, ugly concrete blocks, and it's just a mess. It just needs to be cleaned up. The road was declared that used to be that it was a hazard, and that those two intersections were very difficult. And so the land, I believe, was surplus. And so it's just a matter, then somebody stepped in and said, well, we got to preserve the Yellowstone Road, but we can't drive on it. So we either make it a pocket park or take the pieces of the Yellowstone Road if we can and put them somewhere downtown or do some, I mean, there's so many options. We just need to start looking at options, what can happen there.
So you're wanting me to take care of the ecology blocks for you?
Well, the utility blocks need to stay until we come up with a different.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
Exactly.
you just want me to straighten them out and then we can move forward on trying to figure out what we want to do with the road, correct?
No, I'm not asking you to remove the ecology box.
No, that's when you need to talk with Counselor Hart here because she was a big part of that process
Okay.
a few years ago.
Ms. Hart, if you will contact
There's
me
a vision
tomorrow.
that goes with that.
I would like to sit down with you.
Yes, ma'am. Tomorrow I'll be around.
I don't know if it'll be tomorrow, could be, but I will get to you this week.
Okay.
Okay, thank you,
Is that
sir.
okay? Friday, I'll get in touch with you.
All right.
Be up to date on that.
Next item on there, temporary vendors without permits. That goes to code enforcement. Do we have any information on that one yet? Because that was another one for last week.
Unfortunately, I do not have any additional information about the temporary vendor permits at this time. I just found out today that I was going to be leading this evening.
Understood.
This evening, and so I did not have a chance to gather all of the appropriate information like I would have liked to, sir.
Understood.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, sir.
being that that's one of my lines, can we add it to the next workshop?
And quite possible, yes. I think we can do that. Jackie, could you put that on the agenda? Thank you. All right, council members, other items that need to be added to the request status report. Ms. Vasquez.
Yeah, I actually brought this up in one of my one-on-ones a while ago, but I just want to bring it up to maybe it could be added on this. But so where the fire hydrants are, I've actually had some conversations with business owners around downtown and specifically also on Decatur Avenue, where there's fire hydrants and there's these yellow lines where it's like no parking, right, for the cars, so they don't park right in front of it. So these white lines are very, very, very faded. So there's cars parking right in front of them. And not only that, there's also many cars parking in front of some businesses where they shouldn't be parking. And there were lines there before, but the lines are very faded. I actually have pictures. I could email them to you and I'll CC Mike, just because it's something that's just been neglected. And it's actually something that's important because downtown, the parking is just crazy as it is. And for them to be parking in front of fire hydrants that they shouldn't be in front of, that's something that not only the community is doing it unaware maybe because they don't see the lines, but it's also not helpful for the fire department.
The employees started painting this week. If you'll send me a list of the areas of concern, I'll make sure that they get them. I have a scheduled meeting tomorrow at 1. So if I could get it before 1, I'll present it.
Okay, yes, I'll email them to you today. I have them all.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Okay. Anything else that needs to be added to this list? All right, moving on. City manager reports. Have you been given access to city manager reports at all?
I have not at this time, sir.
Okay. Then we will forego that one. Next item on our agenda is an executive session. Executive session consists of the following. As pursuant to RCW 42.30.1101I, to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency matters relating to agency enforcement actions or to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency litigation or potential litigation to which the agency, the governing body, or a member acting in an official capacity is likely to become a party. When public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in an adverse legal or financial consequence to the agency. Is there be action on this one, Quinn? Or is it just information?
Just information.
Just information. So action is not expected. And we are asking for, what did we say for this section that you need 15 minutes?
Let's do 15.
All right, 15 minutes is what we're asking for.
Recording
Use the
pause.
restroom very quickly.
Yes. Give an opportunity for those who need to,
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
do we need staff to leave the room